Hey guys, this is episode 2 of my Project SeaCAT series, where I'm planning to build an AI. This video is to cover the plans for phase 1 of Project SeaCAT. Now, I'm thinking I'll split it into phases just because of the way my organizational software works. That seems like it'd make a lot of sense. So for now, this is going to be phase 1. I know it sounds super pretentious, etc., but that's the naming scheme I'm going with, and there has to be a phase 1 really. So here it is. So first question, what will it do? What will Project SeaCAT do? Well, the first thing it will do is it will receive and store input data. It's got to be able to do that 100%. Otherwise, what's it going to actually think about, right? Next up, it has to be able to assign meanings to data. So it has to get the data from somewhere and it has to associate it with something. That could be another bit of data, it could be some other association tag. I haven't fully figured out how I'm going to do that yet, but there are multiple ways it could be done. It's just finding one that gels, I guess, with the rest of my idea, you know, finding one that really hits the spot. So we need it to assign meanings to data. I think we can do that. It's going to be a little complicated, but that's the whole point, right? Next up, it's going to recall past events. So what I mean by that is it's going to be able to look at input data that it has just received and from the meaning of that data be able to look at previous experiences it has had, previous events that have been of interest to it, basically. That's what I mean by recall past events. So it has to be able to look at a new bit of data, recognize that it's seen it before, and pull that data back along with any other data associated with that experience, whatever an experience ends up being defined as. I have my own definition, but I'll get into that later. It has to be able to judge the data based on previous experiences. So as well as being able to get data and recall previous experiences, it has to be able to judge those experiences. So that means it has to have some sort of objective system in place. So it has to have a goal, right? An artificial intelligence has to have a goal, otherwise it's just spinning wheels, basically. So that's what being able to judge data will do for us. We'll be able to give it a goal. And it needs to be able to act using judgment to accomplish its set goals. What I mean by that is, as well as it receiving inputs, it needs to have access to some outputs. And it needs to be aware that it can use those outputs at any given point, right? That's all I mean by that. Because then it can judge data based on its previous experiences and it can decide which action to take. That's the end game at that point. That is, at least on a very basic level, I would say artificial intelligence, because at that point I don't know what it would be missing to be artificial intelligence. Obviously there would be the complexity, how much it could deal with at once, but even a shitty artificial intelligence, phase 1 can be as shitty an AI as you could ever imagine. We're going for MVP here, minimal viable product. So we'll see. We shall see. Now, what will it be made of? What am I going to use to make this thing? I'm going to use Visual Studio Community, which you can get from Microsoft. I'm going to put the links in this description, the description for this video rather. I'll put the links in there in case anyone's interested in downloading it all and giving it a try. You know, this can be your go-to place for those links, I guess. Even if you just wanting to get into coding in general, they're a good place to start, especially if you're on a Windows 10 machine, because they've integrated that shit to the max. So we'll be using that for our actual development. We'll be using C# mostly. That'll be for our Windows services that we'll be creating. SQL Server 2016 developer, again, you can get it free from Microsoft. It's really good. We're going to use that for our data storage. So we'll be using that to store the memories and to store the experiences and to store the judgments, stuff like that. It's going to be super valuable. Visual Studio Online, team services. This is a weird one. This is one that you would not imagine a homegrown project would be using. This is like business class software for running the development side of organizations, really. It's pretty full on, it's hardcore, but I've been using it for years now and I really like it. I think it really helps you clarify your goals even on home projects. It helps you really plan out a bit of work before you're doing it, so I would advise it to anyone who is planning a project and they don't know where to begin because they've got all these thoughts in their head for cool ideas. You can go on team services and you can create a bunch of, they're called user stories, and you can create user stories for all the different features you want, and you can even map them to features, and then you can come in and you can just finish them, you know, one bit at a time. It's really useful. So I'll be doing a video on that at some point. I'll be doing videos using all this stuff, you know, that's why I'm mentioning it here. But the point is you can get all this for free. You can get a Team Services account for free from Microsoft. They will host your code base on it for free. They will let you do all your project management on there for free. They are really, really good when it comes to that. And it all integrates together as well. This is what's great about it, because you can access your Team Services account through Visual Studio Community. So you can actually upload your code to your repository that is sitting online from within your web development software. So you don't have to worry about any nonsense, and it will automatically track all that stuff for you. I'll be doing an episode on source control. I have an old video of mine on source control from a couple of weeks back, which covers source control in quite a lot of detail, but I'll do one specifically for this, just so that I've got everything tied up in this nice bundle. And then finally, we're going to use the SQL Server data tools. I put this one in purely because I installed it. I don't know what I'll use it for. I might not use it for anything, but it's on the list, you know? That way, if I do something and somebody is wanting to replicate it and they haven't got the option, they'll probably be missing the SQL Server data tools. So this nips that one in the bud. Right, what's next? What will convince me it works? Well, I've got what I call the light bulb test. I'll probably do a video on the light bulb test at some point because it's quite interesting. I came up with it a few nights ago. I was lying in bed and I came up with the light bulb test. The light bulb test is basically, my video will, I'll make a proper video on it, but the gist of it is you have an AI, you give it one input, which is you pressed a button. It's not even on or off, it's just like an event. And that is something that the AI receives. So it receives this event. You then also give it access to a light bulb that it can switch on or off. It has two choices. Or it can do nothing, so really it has three choices. At that point, to pass the light bulb test, we should be able to teach the AI to behave like a light bulb without ever programming anything into it, just by pressing the button in a certain sequence. That's the theory. So that's what I mean by the light bulb test. I'll go into it in more detail later, but that gives you an idea of what I'm talking about, hopefully. If it doesn't, wait for the later video, I guess. Next is the dog treat test. So this is based on a video I saw, again, a few weeks back, of Neil deGrasse Tyson trying to prove something about dogs being really smart. He was saying that a dog could be taught to remember 1,000 different toys just by using treats or whatever. He even argued without using treats by the end, which I, again, could believe. The dog treat test aims to replicate the behavior of the dog in that test. So have 1,000 different actions it can perform and have it respond to those actions based on a word, like a word that's typed in. So you type in the word, it responds, maybe by displaying a picture or something. But yeah, displaying a picture, I'll go with that. So you type in a word and it shows the picture for that word. But then you introduce a new picture to it that it's never seen before, and you give it a new word that it's never heard before, and you see if it can make the connection by itself. So that is test number 2. And then finally we have the Leet Hacker test. This one I threw in at the last minute because I felt like I should have 3 tests. But basically it's getting a game to beat me, or getting an AI to beat me at a game. This could be any game. I imagine as time goes on and I can't do it, I'll start lowering the level of the game it has to beat me at. But I'm thinking I'll start off with Pong. Or maybe Tetris. Pong or Tetris, one of the two. Probably Pong, right? Realistically, I think Tetris would be a bit ambitious. I think it'd be doable. But the thing is, I'm going to have to create a translator program for each of these applications to convert the game into a binary input so that the AI can use its kind of data processing on it. And that will be harder the more complex the game, obviously. So maybe I'll keep it simple. Pong is quite simple. There's not that many variables that can change in Pong. So they're the 3 tests. Third one's going to be interesting because I haven't even thought about it really where it could lead. But I think it's worth doing to show that its judgment can evolve over time in a dynamic environment. What are my time frames? Well, I thought about this for a while, and I shouldn't be giving any time frames until I've done my planning. But I thought, what the hell, I'll throw something together. So I'm thinking by January 2017, I want to have an API, C# or .NET, I guess, because you'll be able to use it in Visual Basic as well. A .NET API for sending data to the SeaCAT in a binary form and retrieving inputs from SeaCAT. So then you'd be able to build an application around that because you would be able to map the inputs to whatever you wanted, and you would be able to send the data to SeaCAT as long as you were willing to put in the time to convert it into a binary form, you know. I'll have some standard API that people can use. Whether anyone will use it, I don't know, but I will. It'll be step 1 for me as well in making those games for the tests. I also want some installable software. I'm going full on with this keeping it professional malarkey. I want some installable software for running a simple version of the SeaCAT service, right? So an installer that you can double click, it'll install, and you'll be able to use any application that supports SeaCAT API on that machine. That's basically the goal for January. I think it's doable. It may be ambitious. Doesn't really matter if it's ambitious. Like I said, I only put it in there just to have a date in there. You know, pressure myself to come up with a real date. That's what I'll say. That's my justification. And I think by then I'll have a cool experience regardless of what happens. I think if I spend the next half a year trying to build this thing, even if I fail, I'm going to have something really interesting at the end of it. And I don't know what that will be. But I guarantee it will be pretty cool. And then in August of 2017, I want to release a bunch of applications that I haven't even dreamt up yet. Don't know what they're going to be. No idea. But what I do know is that I would like to then create a bunch of applications using this technology. I don't know what they will be. Any suggestions are welcome, obviously. They'll have to be quite simple to start off with. But I'm going to give it some thought. And what's next? You know, what do I do after this video? The answer to that is I plan the project. So I already have the basic plan for the entire thing, basically, rattling around in my head. But I need to put it into Visual Services, that application I was telling you about. I need to put it in there in the form of different objectives that I can meet in order to accomplish this larger goal. Because there's too much to just go, right, let's do it. So this way it will hopefully be traceable. I'll be doing a video on that as well. I'll probably do the designing off screen and then come back and walk you guys through the final project, the final product. I think that'll be more interesting than sitting there while I hum and haw and change my mind, and you know, I'll save that for the coding videos, because the coding videos I plan on doing completely like that, no edits. I think that'll be really interesting and hopefully educational for people. But anyway, that's me for this video. Peace out.